With the start of the 2016 college football season, the start of the 2016 NFL season, you know what that means, ladies and germs. It's time to start looking ahead to the 2017 NFL draft. I know some of you are giggly tits at the thought of a 2017 NFL mock draft. Technically my second one, if you remember right. A few months ago, I did a 3-round edition right after the 2016 NFL draft. And some of you are saying, fuck you, Jeff. Yes, fuck you, Jeff. Fuck you indeed. No, fuck you, because I'm doing it anyways, because as a Bears fan, what the hell else do I have to look forward to other than the 2017 NFL draft? Think about that. Playoffs? Playoffs! It's all about the draft, baby. So, you can check out, it's just a 1-round, simple mock draft in the description box below. I'll address a couple of things now. And if people comment a certain way, it'll tell me that they just looked at the description, didn't actually watch the video or listen to the things that I said. Number one, the draft position for each team is based off of records. You know, the first 16 teams are the teams that lost in week 1, 17 to 32, the teams that won in week 1, or the picks that correspond, whatever the case might be. Doing it, I just kind of went in a random order. You know, based off of who I thought was the worst and moved on. It's no indication necessarily in some cases that that's where they're going to be at the end of the year, obviously. For some, it probably is a good indication where they're going to be. See, the Cleveland Browns, the skid marks, as a perfect example. Oh, thank you. Number 2, I have not done much in terms of in-depth player evaluations or analysis, so this is obviously going to be very, very fluid for the next 8+ months. Throughout this entire process. I just want to make that known. So, because I have somebody on a certain spot on the board right now doesn't mean that even in 3 months they're going to be there, or 6 months or 8 months. It doesn't even mean they'll be in the first 3 rounds, or guys that aren't even in my first round won't be in the top 10. And, you know, like I said, it's fluid. It's subject to change, and it will change dramatically. You know, so some of where I have players going is based off of the teams picking in these certain spots, not necessarily automatically a reflection of who they are as talents, good or bad or otherwise. Number 2, some of this is based off of me envisioning what certain teams might view in certain guys, but again, this is without me watching a lot of them. For all of these guys in the top 32, I've maybe watched 2 to 3 games worth of footage on each of them. So very, very preliminary, not nearly enough homework to where I want to start making any firm evaluations or firm gradings or firm rankings. Nothing like that at all. That probably won't start to happen until I tell you it starts to happen, which will be sometime between mid-October to early November when I start to formulate opinions about prospects. Like I did last year with Carson Wentz in October. I tweeted out that I thought he was the best quarterback in the draft, and I stayed with that throughout the entire process. You know, there were certain guys I started to form opinions on, and come October, I start to focus a little bit more on it. You know, it will start to become more evident how I feel about different prospects. Although, one qualifier on this, as we get into October, and there's a very real possibility that, God forbid, the Chicago Cubs, knock on wood, could actually make a World Series appearance and or potentially win a World Series. That could consume me come October. So some of this could get pushed back to November. Just letting you know. Okay, so let's talk about this mock draft really quickly. Looking ahead, I see a couple of positions that are pretty strong, and I think it's going to stay that way. I think most people are in agreement. The running back class is exceptional, especially at the top. You got 5, 6 guys that could go in round 1. I know I didn't put Perine from Oklahoma in round 1. I think he could potentially be a round 1 talent. I believe I still had 5 running backs going in the first round. You know, some people will say, well, running backs aren't worth it. You know, especially if you're drafting in the later portion of round 1 and you like the talent, it's worth taking a running back there because you get them for 4, potentially 5 years, and the price isn't that prohibitive. You get a pretty good salary cap value for taking those guys there. And if the talent's good enough, you should still take them. That's the whole point. So if Leonard Fournette is graded out to be a top 3 or top 5 talent, he better go in the top 10. Same thing with Dalvin Cook. If teams grade Royce Freeman and Christian McCaffrey and Nick Chubb and Samaje Perine as first-round picks, then they need to take them in the first round. I'll sit there and get cute and say, oh, we got them in the second or third round. No, if they're first-round talents, they deserve to be taken around number 1. But like I said, the top of this running back class is exceptional this year. I haven't made my full opinion, obviously, yet on whether the entire class is really, really good. But this running back class, based off of the top, could be special. I think the corner position, which last year was kind of weak, this year is going to be really, really strong. Humphrey from Alabama, Tabor from Florida, Jackson from USC, Desmond King from Iowa, White from LSU. I didn't even fit Cameron Sutton from Tennessee in my first round in this edition. Again, a good corner class at the top. So a lot of teams are going to be really happy come the 2017 draft. I think the tight end position is much better than it's been in years past. I've got O.J. Howard and Jake Butt both going in round 1. I think you've got other guys like Jordan Leggett and Evan Ingram and Bucky Hodges that have real NFL starter promise. This is a good tight end class, especially compared to recent years. Where the weakness is in this class this year, I think, is in the trenches. At offensive line, it's on the outside at offensive tackle. I don't think this is a great offensive tackle class. Defense-wise, I think the defensive line, in particular interior defensive line, is not a particularly strong class, at least the way I see it right now. But again, like I mentioned before, as I go through and start watching players and get familiar with more prospects, those opinions are very subject to change. And don't be surprised if they change quite a bit. Some might not be. I might be right on the head with some of these. In terms of positions I have questions about, a wide receiver, I think you'll see more wide receivers going round 1 than what I have here. I only had 2 of them, but some of that is because there were more running backs going to round 1, more corners going in round 1, a couple of tight ends going in round 1, so wide receivers dropped a little bit. I think guys like Isaiah Ford, who's not in my first round, could potentially be in there. Yes, I'm pretty high on Corey Davis from Western Michigan, at least based off what I saw in 2015. But again, we'll see how I feel come the end of 2016. My biggest question is about the quarterback position. As you can see, I've got 3 quarterbacks going in round number 1. Some of you will think I'm crazy for having Deshaun Watson fall to 18 at San Francisco. I think some teams could overanalyze stuff. They might look at him and say, well, he's not an incredibly big guy. He doesn't have a huge arm, and they'll overanalyze it a little bit. I've got the Bears taking Brad Kaaya at 4. You look at him, he seems to fit more of the traditional profile, the traditional mold. He might have more physical tools than Deshaun Watson, and for teams that does matter. DeShone Kizer right now, the quarterback from Notre Dame, I've got going number 1 overall, even as a redshirt sophomore. Again, very subject to change, not making opinion out there that I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. There could be teams that would view him as being the top quarterback in this class, and for some reason I think the Cleveland Browns would potentially be one of them. But with this quarterback class, there are other guys, you've got freaking Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State, Ledner, whatever the hell his name is, in Minnesota. You got Mahomes, you've got Falk, you've got a lot of these different guys. Are any of them really that dude? Like 2 years ago, Winston and Mariota. I was Mariota Winston. But I thought both of them had the stuff to be that dude. In the 2016 draft, I thought Carson Wentz had that stuff to be the dude. Jared Goff had some of the stuff, not as much, but I thought he still had some dude potential. But I look at the quarterbacks in this class, and I don't know at this moment, the way it sits, that any of them have that dude potential. Some of them might end up showing it to me. But as of right now, I'm not 100% convinced that any one of these guys has that ultimate dude must-take-him number 1 overall potential. Hopefully 1 or 2 of them could show that dude potential, because if it does, it will help teams drafting at the top really reset their franchise and get going on the right trajectory and change the environment, change the culture within their organization and locker room. And it also kind of helps set everything into motion properly in terms of the draft, because when you don't have quarterbacks number 1, all types of crazy shit can happen. As far as my plans going forward for doing mock drafts throughout the NFL season, I haven't determined yet whether I'm going to do one every week or maybe one every 2 weeks. I'm leaning more towards maybe one every 2 weeks. I don't think it's necessary at this point in time, especially this early on, to do one every single week. I think every 2 weeks is okay. If I get enough feedback from you that you want one every week and I feel like doing one every week, then maybe I will. Maybe once October's over, again, as I referenced earlier, I'll focus more time on it. Maybe I'll start doing once a week then. But for now, you probably look forward to another one here in about 2 weeks or so. So read them and weep. 1 round mock down below. Let me know your thoughts. Give me some players that you think I should be checking out later.